There we go.
Nice. Perfect.
All right. Does everyone have components, evaluate components in a sheet that has NAND gates on it, or gates in general?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me get started. Some people might come in, but so hello. My name is Steve. I'm from Inspire. We're one of the sponsors here today. We're on your shirts, probably not the shirts or the shirts you're wearing, so not shirts anyone else is wearing, probably, but the shirts you got. And so my talk today is going to be how to build a computer. And I really struggled with this name because I didn't want people to think that we were going to build a PC. I don't know if anyone thought that when they were coming to this, but that's not what we're going to do. We're going to build something that can do arithmetic, which computes, and so it meets the definition of a computer. But you probably would maybe not call it a computer. But we're going to build it from transistors, and I hope that's going to help kind of show some of the magic behind computers, and really that it's not magic. That just with something as simple as a transistor, we can do math. We can make calculations. And for those of you that are developers or programmers or just technical, hopefully you can go from there to kind of like understand that the ability to do math and those kinds of things unlocks a whole world of potential. So the goals today, first the slide deck I have will attempt to explain binary and transistors. Those are complex subjects, but a brief intro, and then these things called logic gates, which is really just abstraction. We'll explain those to you, and then we'll physically build an AND gate from transistors. That's your component you have. And then we'll digitally build an adder from the NAND gates on the computer. So what is a transistor? A transistor is the cell of all modern electronics. It's really the building block that everything that you have is built upon. The newest iPhone has 8.5 billion transistors in it, just in the CPU, really. So, at a fundamental level, a transistor is an electronic switch. And I do have one more set for you. Just walked in. At a fundamental level, a transistor is an electronic switch. And it's a way to turn on some other circuit with the use of a voltage. So this is a transistor. This is one common packaging of a transistor. There's always going to be three inputs to a transistor, the emitter and the collector, and then the middle is called the base. Also sometimes called a gate. So this animation hopefully works. Helps explain this. It's in German, probably because I got it from the German Wikipedia. But you can probably follow along. This means collector, this means emitter, and this means base. So these are three parts of the transistor. This is a little circuit diagram for a transistor right here. And so this part is right here, the collector. And so this is a water analogy for in common in electronics. So we have this big flow of water that wants to come through here. And this blocks it physically. And then when there's this little tiny stream that comes in through the base, if you supply that little stream of water, it physically pushes this open and tilts this up, it's all connected, and allows the main current through. So the key piece here is that the base, the gate, same name for two names for the same thing, that kind of controls this main flow. And so just today, all we care about is the fact that if you supply voltage, this opens up and the main voltage can just flow right through. When you get into more complex stuff, you can use transistors for amplifiers, and that means the more you open this gate, the more this main gate opens up, and then there's some multiplication factor there. I do have a lot of reference material on that site I had, and there's more. Actually, the site is printed on the bottom of your handout there. So I highly recommend if you find this stuff interesting, to go there and look it up and click on some of the links. But moving on to binary. Binary is just another number system. And while decimal is the normal number system that we use every day, it has 10 digits. Binary only has 2 digits. And that's the only difference really between the two. In every number system, the way it works is you count until you run out of digits, And then you say, okay, I'm out of digits, so I'm going to reset this digit and increment the next one over. I have this animation, which is someone who built a physical binary counter. Hopefully this explains it. I'll talk a little bit more. But you see this far one, this is like the lowest significant bit. It increments, I'll put it again. It increments going from 0 to 1, and then you say, oh, I ran out of digits, so now the next one has to increment. And this one resets back to 0. And then once this one's run out of digits, so the next one has to increment. And that's really all there is to it. I have a little chart here showing the first 15 binary numbers. On that site, again, I have a full chart like the first 256. We'll reference this a little bit later when we need to find binary numbers in order to add them. But you can see it just increments, again, basically the same thing as that GIF you just saw, 0, 1, 0, 1, and then flipping that next bit each time when you run out of the digits. All right, so now we're gonna start adding. So this is normal decimal numbers, 28 and 14. How do we add 28 and 14? First step is we break these up into columns to their own like units, their own stages, if you will. This 8 and the 4 is the first one. So 8 and 4 is 12. Very good. And so what do we do with the 12? Do we just write 12 down here? No. We don't, because that's not the total. We're not done yet. We just write the 2, and we take the 1 and we carry it. So we put that up here, and now we have 3 things over here. And it's important to note that adding is really just a process, and then spoiler alert, the next one's 4. We add those up, and that's 4. So it's important to note that the process here it's very independent stages. You take this first column, you add those up, you take this next column, you add it up, and then there's another one, another one, another one. You just follow the process. And the only caveat to that is that if there's more than one digit in the output, it carries over as this extra little thing that goes in the next stage. So that's it. Same thing in binary. We break it up into stages. These are the same numbers. So this is 28 in binary, this is 14 in binary. We break it up into stages, these little independent lines. First, 0 and 0 is 0. 0, very good. 0 and 1, 1, very good. Now the first curveball, 1 and 1 in binary.
10, 1, 0.
Yeah, 1, 0. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put 0 down here. And what are we gonna do with the 1? Carry it, very good. That goes up here. And now, similar situation, but now we have 1 and 1 and 1. So what is that? 1, 1, very, very good. 1 and 1. And now we have 1 and 1. We already did that one, but that's the same as before. 0 and 1 up there. 1 and 0 and 0. 1 down here, and then 0, 0. So it's the exact same process we use for decimal. Break it up into these little stages, and you add each one independently. So that if there's an extra carry bit, if it overflows what you can store in one digit, you take that extra little bit and you put it up here as the carry. All right, logic gates. This is the same piece of paper you have in front of you. These are going to be important. You don't have to memorize them. They're relatively straightforward, though. The first is called a NOT gate. And so, to back up slightly, what these all do is they are just kind of abstraction on top of really transistors, really what the transistors are doing. This is just a way of saying, here's a few transistors, here's the task that they're performing. And then you take some inputs. In this first case, there's only one input. In all the other ones, there's 2 inputs, A and B, but in the first one only has 1. And then there's always one output. That's your output. Left side is the inputs, right side is the output in each of these. Left side input, right side outputs. And the idea is you're going to take some set of inputs, do some magic black box thing to it, and then get an output. And the definition of what you're doing is in these little boxes called truth tables. And this is just a listing of literally every possible input you can give to these these gates. So the first one only has one input, and they're binary numbers. So 0 and 1 are the only possible inputs, 0 and 1. And so there's only 2 possible things that can happen. You give it a 0, and it flips it to be a 1, or you give it a 1 and it flips it to be a 0. Because the first one is a NOT gate. A NOT gate is exactly what it sounds like in English. It means not the input. It means just take the input and flip it to be the output. That's often represented in these diagrams with this little bubble, circle. We'll come back to that in just a second, but moving on to the next one, the AND gate works the same way it does in English. A and B is what the output's going to be. So if we have 0 and 0, the output is 0. And sorry, I should have said this earlier, but 0 represents false, 1 represents truth. If you're programming, you probably do that already, but for everyone else, 0 is just, it means not true, false. It also, on the physical stuff we're going to be building, it means 0 volts, it means no voltage, and 1 means there is voltage, it means true. So, with that in mind, A and B, if A is false and B is false, the output is false. If one of them is true, false and true is not true, that's still false. So the output is false. The output is false here, but true and true, the output is true. Same as it works same way it works in English. This one is the important one for today. This is a not AND gate, NAND for short. I'll be saying that word a lot. I'm generally going to be saying NAND, not AND, so just to be clear. And the symbol, like I said before, this little bubble means flip the bits, it means not, it means negation, just like it does here. So every time you see that, it just means this is literally an AND gate with all the outputs flipped. So you'll see the inputs are the same, they're all the same order, 0, 0, 0, 1, and 0, 1, 1. Same inputs, but all the outputs are exactly opposite. And so there's no like English equivalent to NAND, and there's not even really a programming equivalent, really. But it means, take an AND gate and just flip the outputs. It's important, because it's both the cheapest gate to physically manufacture, and because you can build all these other NAND gates, from NAND gates, from multiple NAND gates combined. And that's what we're going to be doing here later today. The other one's briefly an OR gate, same way it works in English. A or B will be true. So these are all true. This first one's the only one's false. A NOR gate has this little bubble, so it's the same thing as this, but flipped. And the only kind of complex one is this XOR. It stands for exclusive OR, which means if exactly one of the inputs is true, the output will be true. You can also say if they're different, the output will be true. So, the components you have in these bags. First is the breadboard. This is just a way of connecting components together. So you'll see that we're generally going to be holding it horizontal, left to right like this, with the J1, there's a bunch of lettered, like a Excel spreadsheet grid. J1 is going to be the upper left-hand corner, and I actually don't know what your board's up to, but A 30, I think,
Yes.
is in the bottom right. So for those of you that have never seen a breadboard before, it's fine, it's pretty simple. It's just a way, you see the rest of your components all have little pins on them, and the idea is we want to connect those pins together. You could just twist them together or something, that would be annoying to do constantly. So this is just an ease of life device that just connects all these 5 pins in the row right here are all connected together. I'm going to skip ahead, I'll jump back, but this is the back of the breadboard peeled off. It just shows the literal metal connections that are on the back. So going back to that one, groups of 5, all connected together, but nothing goes across this main break in the middle here. And then the other thing that's different is on the side. These are like power rails. They're connected all the way along the length, but not to each other. So there's 4 independent power rails, that, and that one, and then a bunch of these little guys are connected together. Again, looking at this picture probably makes it clear, and also this one I think makes it the most clear. This is like, I've never actually seen this before in reality, but I think it makes it very clear how their connections work. So does everyone kind of understand breadboards? They're kind of subtle if you've never worked with them before, but hopefully you get it. Jumper wire, also, let me just say, as we're going through these parts, if you don't have any of these parts, tell me. There's a very good chance that it's me, not you. Oh yeah, you are. You got the one lucky one. Okay, that's you I'm talking. This is a jumper wire. Oh, like I said, if you're missing the parts, let me know. I put these together last night like midnight, and I did some QA, but It wasn't very good. Go. So this is a jumper wire. This is literally just a wire. That's all it is. Normally you would use a lot of these in breadboard construction, but they're frankly kind of annoying because they get everywhere. So I thought about the circuit we're building today, and we only really need one. What we're going to use instead are resistors pretty often. And so these are resistors that I put some rubber coating on to just make it so that they won't short out if they touch each other. So we should have three of these. If you don't, let me know. But they're pretty straightforward as well. They just kind of slow the flow of electricity down a little bit. But otherwise, they're pretty straightforward. The button is kind of one of the more complicated devices, despite the fact that it shouldn't be. The thing that makes it confusing is that it has 4 pins, and 2 of the pins are always connected together. So if you look at the button, in one direction, the legs are kind of spread out a little bit further. In that direction, it's always connected, just like a piece of wire. This pair is always connected together. And this pair back here is always connected together. And then only when you press the button does it connect this back to the front. When you press the button, all 4 pins are connected together. Another picture maybe makes it more clear. That if you look at it top down, you can see they kind of stick out further. And then, well, I'll get that later. But it's a momentary push button switch, which means that it's only on while it's being pressed, like a key on a keyboard, not like a light switch. Light emitting diode, an LED. When we put a voltage across it, it will light up. The only trick here is that there is one way that current will flow through it. There's a shorter leg, and it also has a flat edge. The flat edge is very hard to notice, but it is there. That's the negative side. So we'll get to that when we build the circuit. And then transistors, the heart of everything. I showed this picture earlier, but again, 3 legs, an emitter, and a collector. And the idea is that the current will flow through the transistor like this, but only when you supply voltage to this middle one, the gate or the base. And there's a flat side to the transistor. You're going to hold that facing you, legs down, and that's generally how we're going to work with it. Okay, so now assembly time. Here's some pro tips for you. Don't put the batteries into the end, just so that if, in theory, if you put the batteries in that holder and they touched each other, it would short out, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it would, not be good. So don't put them into the very end. You can push the components down pretty firmly. You can bend the pins to make them fit. You shouldn't have to bend them very much, but you can bend, especially the transistors, will be bent a little tiny bit. The buttons are a little annoying to work with. These are brand new breadboards, so they sometimes stick a lot when you are putting stuff in them. It's kind of annoying, but put some force, and you should be okay. And generally, you can, I'm going to show you the circuit. You can build it yourself, but I'm going to tell you the exact spots that I put the components in. And if you follow that, I think it's pretty easy. So feel free to do your own thing, but if you follow along, I think it'll be easy. So this is the circuit we're going to be building, and it's pretty straightforward, I promise. But the idea here is we have 2 transistors, 2 switches, 2 buttons, and then resistors, resistor, resistor. This is the battery, positive voltage up here, negative voltage down here, and 0 volts. And then when you press these buttons, it'll connect to the base of the base of the transistor, and that'll cause this connection to be established. This button being pressed will cause this connection to be established, and that'll cause this circuit to close. And so the LED will normally have a voltage from this part, and it's okay if you really aren't following this, but I want to go over it. It will normally have a voltage, a current from this part, but when you close both these buttons, this will allow both these transistors to flow, and this one will override because there's no resistor in this path, but there is a resistor in this path. Again, okay if you didn't follow it. This is a picture of the end result. It's really just there to look nice, but I think it looks nice. So this is the breadboard. Should be held like this. Like I said, J1 in the upper left, 30A in the bottom right. Hopefully, is everyone good to start?
Yeah.
Okay. So first step is the transistors. I know this is not a great picture, but here's a slightly different angle. Going back at the bottom here, I have the pins. So J10, J11, and J12 is your first transistor. At the very top, 10, 11, and 12. Flat side facing you, so you can read the text. There's very subtle text on there. flat side facing you, and then the second transistor is gonna go right next to it they're gonna share a row between the two legs. So row 12 will have two transistors in it. And the first transistor is in row J, second one is in row I.
Do you have any extra transistors?
I do. Two.
Just one.
You just want them?
Wait a second. Should we only have two?
Someone else is
Yeah.
I have an extra one.
Oh, you have an extra one?
Yeah.
I have three in mine.
That was my plan, was to have everything together to build a computer.
Forced collaboration.
Is everyone good on this step? Tell me if you're not. It's really okay if you're not.
I need about 2 more seconds.
Okay, yeah, that's perfectly fine, understandable. Again, this is the other view of the same thing. So 10, 11, and 12, if J is the first transistor, the second one is 12, 13, and 14. And so the idea is that these two legs are now connected together. And this is the circuit diagram that we just run. These are transistors. These are legs that are connected.
Flat side is down?
Flat side is facing you.
Down, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so buttons are pretty annoying to work with, but we're getting the hard parts out the way early. They go across the gap. They really only fit in one direction. It's important. It matters which direction they go in, but they really only fit in the one direction. So it's the direction where the legs are farther apart is going across the gap. And the idea is that the inner edge of the button will align with the middle pin of the transistor, because we want the button to supply voltage to that middle leg, the gate of the transistor, when it's being pressed. The outer edge of the buttons will be in a row that has nothing else in it currently. So the first button will go in row 9 and row 11, and the second one will go in rows 13 and 15. So the idea is those outer legs of the buttons currently don't have anything else in them, but they will, and they'll bring that voltage into the center row that they're in. That also has the center pin of the transistor. Does everyone go with the buttons? They are finicky. It's perfectly fine if you're not. Okay, so now resistors. Do I have another picture? I don't have another picture. Sorry, the shadows are a little annoying, but I'm covering that up. So the resistors are all going to go into the bottom rail, which is the power rail we're going to hook the positive voltage up to. It doesn't matter where in this bottom rail they go. They also don't have numbers, which is why I didn't specify numbers. But the other points they go into will be B9, B15, which is the outer edges of the buttons. 9 and 15 are the two outer edges of the buttons. And then the third resistor will go up to the outer edge of this transistor up here, which is H14. It really doesn't matter which letter they go into, but I purposely put them a little bit far away from the buttons so you can physically get in there and press them. So again, the idea here is that if you look at this, we're going to have a positive voltage down here on this bottom piece, which is right here. And it's going to come up here to the outer edge of the buttons all the time. It'll come up here and it'll always be here, and it'll always be right here. And when we press the button, that'll close this, and the voltage will flow up here to the transistors, which is like that up there. It'll flow in like this, and up here to the middle pin on each of these transistors. People go with the resistors?
I need another second.
Okay, perfectly fine.
I'm curious, are the resistors all the same resistance?
They're all 1 kilo ohm, just because that was, I bought one giant bulk thing of 100 kilo ohm. 1 kilo ohm, not 100 kilo ohm. It doesn't really matter the values for what we're doing today. They could be a lot lower. They could be like 300. They could be whatever. If we were actually building, something to manufacture and sell, we would certainly care about the values. But just to make an LED light up, it really didn't matter too much. So yeah. So now we're adding that jumper wire. This one's pretty straightforward. G10. It's going to go to the leftmost edge of the transistor, which is row 10, and up to the top negative rail of the breadboard. Again, the whole thing's connected. It doesn't matter where it goes. You can put it in this first spot like I did, just to kind of get it out of the way. And so the idea here is that This is going to supply a low resistance path for negative voltage to go through these two transistors, but only when they're turned on, when the buttons are pressed. Otherwise, this high voltage will be going through this resistor, and that'll always be there, but when you press these buttons and you let this super low resistance path, it'll override, because the lower resistance will take priority. So when buttons are pressed, this low resistance path takes priority, and you'll have low resistance here, you'll have low voltage here, rather. Oh, the LED. So LED again has a negative side, which is the shorter flat side that has to go on the top here, where the blue parallel is. The longer rounded edge goes right behind the rightmost leg of the transistor, row 14, J14 in particular. That's the longer rounded edge of the LED. Okay, and we are about done. So now you're going to put the battery pack in, red to the very bottom red line, black to blue, the very top negative line. And once it's plugged in, you put the batteries in, and it should light up right away. Yeah?
I was just wondering if you could explain the low voltage, high voltage thing again.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump ahead to this. So the idea is this is the battery, positive voltage here, negative voltage down here. And so when, normally these transistors are open, they're not letting anything through. So you can basically pretend this whole part of the circuit is not there. It's just this part.
Right.
And so there's a resistor here that supplies a negative voltage down here. Wait, sorry. It'd be a positive voltage. This is the positive end of the battery, sorry. So it'd be a positive voltage down here, but through a resistor. But then when you press these buttons, close these transistors, and allow this part to take precedence, the negative will override it because there's no resistance in this path. Like this.
Okay.
So it's because the LED also provides resistance.
The LED actually doesn't really provide much resistance at all. It drops the voltage a little bit, but they don't really provide resistance at all. Is everyone's lights coming on? Chris, who just stood up over there, is my coworker, and he volunteered to be my TA.
Yeah, it's following that. So when you press the button, it will turn off, but it will also be on if you just press one.
It kind of lets it be upside down.
Watch LEDs down, that's what it's on. So I heard some button presses already, but if you haven't played with it yet, the way it should work is if neither button is pressed, that's equivalent to false, false, 0, 0. When you press a button, that's equal to 1. So the only case it should turn off the LED is 1, 1. Both buttons pressed. And in that,
LED gets brighter when you press on.
that's okay. That's because we use like we just picked arbitrary resistances and that kind of thing. But to answer your question a little more seriously, in like actual electronics, you would define some threshold. This is a 3-volt circuit, so 2 batteries, 3 volts. Yeah. So you define some threshold, say 1.5 volts, and you say anything above that's 1, anything below that's 0. So it's within tolerance. You don't care about it being brighter and dimmer, as long as it's below 1.5.
But you're saying there's a combination that should result in the LED turning off.
Oh yeah, you press both and it should turn off.
It gets brighter.
That's not good. Chris,
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
Creating free energy, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The clue is
Revolutionize the world. Barcamp was fantastic.
All right. So, now we are going to NandGames.com. You're welcome to follow along, but I'm going to go pretty fast here. So, I highly recommend everyone plays this game afterwards. It's pretty fun, and there's a bunch of levels. And we're going to stop pretty early on. But if you follow the rest of these levels through, you will see how to really build a pretty complex computer using only these NAND gates. So the idea of the game is that we are given one NAND gate, well, as many NAND gates as well, but only NAND gates in our toolbox. And we're going to build every other gate from those NAND gates. And then once we build a gate, we'll have access to it and we can use it to build other things. And so, yeah, let's begin. I will kind of just go through the first level to kind of help explain the concept. So we have an AND gate, we have the input down here, the output up here. Our goal is to build this truth table here. So we're trying to build what they call an invert gate, what I call a NOT gate. We're just trying to flip the outputs. So how can we do that with an AND gate? I'll just give you the answer. Sorry. No, I'll ask for the answers on the next one, but I just wanted to show kind of how the game works. You click these little triangles and you click the circle and that makes a connection. And you click this little triangle to this guy. And so the idea is that if we tie both the inputs of this NAND gate to the same input, it can only either be 0, 0 or 1, 1. And 0, 0 will give us a 1 on the output, and 1, 1 will give us a 1 on the output. So this is how you can build a NOT gate from just a NAND gate, from one single NAND gate. Now we know how to do that. Now we have access to this conversion gate, NOT gate. So now we're going to try and build an AND gate using the tools we have here. So does anyone have any ideas for how we could do that? Having a not AND gate and a NOT gate.
You just invert the output of the NAND gate.
Exactly. So the NAND gate is literally just an AND gate where the output has been inverted. So all we're going to do is take that same output and invert that. So first the NAND gate, then this inversion gate. Complete this level. So now an OR gate. In this one, now we're getting a little bit more complex. I gave you the printouts because they're pretty important to reference constantly. So the idea here is we have this is our goal up here. And you can start to look at the options we have available on here. And ask yourself how we could potentially get to this output of 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, given these inputs. So we have the top three up here, NOT, AND, and NAND. We don't have the bottom three yet. So given just those top three, does anyone have any ideas or see any patterns or similarities between any of these gates? So in the interest of time, a hint is that the AND gate and the OR gate are pretty similar, except kind of, the NAND gate and OR gate are pretty similar, except kind of flipped. Flipped kind of vertically, not the output flipped. So the way we can accomplish that is by flipping the inputs to that NAND gate. We flip the inputs, zeros become ones and ones become zeros, and you can imagine the left-hand side of that truth table flipping, up and down flipping, and the right-hand side staying the same, and that'll get us to our goal. So it's a little tricky here, but if you have some time to relax and really think about this game, I recommend it. If you just enjoy puzzle games.
Wait, did you want to flip both of the inputs or just one of them?
Both.
Okay.
Complete this level. Okay. XOR. Thank you. Does anyone, this one's pretty tricky. Does anyone have any ideas for how we can do an XOR? So as a general rule, here's how we approach these. We're gonna look at this truth table. We're gonna look at what we have. Again, we have the top three, and now we have the addition on this bottom, the fourth one, the OR gate. Yeah?
Is it NAND and OR?
Exactly what it is. So the way we can go about doing that, and I wish I had this, I do have it, actually, it's right here, I'll flip to it. The way we can go about doing this is looking, we want to build this one, the XOR, and we have access to these top three in this one. So we can say like, hey, this one has 2 rows in the middle, nothing else. These each have the 2 rows in the middle. They agree on that. They disagree on the ones that we don't want, but if we AND the outputs of them, where they're both true, the overall system will be true, but these like false positives, if you want to call them that, will get filtered out by that AND gate. Right? One is tricky. NAND gate, and we can hook multiple inputs up to multiple gates. May not be obvious at first, but can. almost there in this game. After this, we're just building our actual adder. So the next step is going to be to build a half adder. And the reason a half adder is a half adder, not a full adder, is because it only adds, over here, it only has two outputs. Oh, I'm sorry, it only has two inputs. It adds two things, A and B, which are single bit numbers, adds them together and you get, I don't like to call it H and L, it stands for high and low, but L is the sum, kind of the result of what we're doing. Then H is the carry bit that we talked about earlier. This is one stage in our addition. So these are gonna be the two numbers you're adding, and you get one result, and then this carry bit, the reason it's a half adder is because what do you do with that carry bit in the next stage? There's no place for it to go here. So that would make this a full adder, and spoiler alert, that's what we're doing next. But, so, I'll do this pretty quickly, but the way you go about doing this is you just separate these out. You say, I don't care about L right now, I'm just gonna build H independently. So just looking at H, just taking this part, does anyone have any ideas how you build that?
Just an AND gate.
It's just an AND gate. And then while I'm doing that, does anyone have any ideas about L? Exactly. So a half adder is pretty easy from what we have so far. And keep in mind, we built this all up from NAND gates. So this is all just NAND gates underneath, which are the things you have in front of you right now. That was H. That was L. Do this level. And now full adder. Full adder is pretty complex, but it's not too bad. I'm just gonna do it, honestly. But we're gonna use a half adder. This add down here is a half adder. It's what we just built. We're gonna half add A and B. We're gonna use another half adder. So two half adders make a full adder. What a world. Add our input carry bit to the overall system to the other, to the result of the first half adder. And then that is our overall sum. And then just an OR gate, you just have to trust me, it's an OR gate here. That is what we're doing with our two high bits slash carry bits to get the overall carry bit. Now this might have been, you might not follow this, I'm sorry. But what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna show you this circuit. This link is also on my the site I linked to earlier. I'll put that up again later if you decide you want to see it. But this is just NAND gates, 9 NAND gates. And this is a full adder. So there are two inputs to this system, A and B, and then this is a carry. And so we're adding 0 and 0, and we get, this is an off LED. The sum is 0 right now. So we add 1, you see the output is 1. Turn that off, another 1, the output is 1. Add 1 and 1, and we get that carry bit, but a 0 over here, 1, 0, if you remember earlier. And if we put carry bit in here, you get 1, 1, because we're adding 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So now, if you imagine, what I said earlier is that if you want to add multiple bits, and we're going to add 4 bits here, what you do is you just take these in their stages. This is one stage, you just copy and paste it right next to it, and that's another stage. And you copy and paste it next to it, it's another stage. And all you have to do, the only interaction between them is taking this carry bit and routing it right into the carry input of the next stage. So as they say in the cooking shows, here's one I prepared earlier. And give me a number from 0 to 15, because we're adding two 4-bit numbers.
13.
13's good. Give me another number from 0 to 15 that the sum of that and 13 will not exceed 15.
2.
Very good. So let's make 13 our A. So this is it's going to be a binary number from left to right, a 3, a 2, a 1, a 0, 13. We're trying to do this from memory. I think is this 8 plus 4 plus 1 is 13. You can just trust me on that, or you can Google it real quick. 2 is our other one. That's B, so we're gonna put that over here. Let me actually try and get you a. There we go. That's not close. So 13 was 1, 1, 0, 1, and 2 was 1, 0. And they add up to be 15, all ones. Oops, that's not it. So you see the output there is all the ones lit up. So let's change 13 to be a different number just to make it so the output is not just all lit up. Another number lower than 13.
12.
8.
Let's do 8 just for this. So 8's pretty easy. It's just this bit over here. So let's do it like this. We'll say this is 8, 1 plus 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. And then B is 0, 0, 1, 0. That's our 2. And the output is 1, 0, 1, 0. So let's go back to our chart and hope. What are the numbers we're even adding?
8 and 2.
There we go.
8 and 2.
And that is what we see, 1, 0, 1, 0. So we're doing math here with these NAND gates. And now, the last piece I want to show you is, let's just say we add 8 and 8. So right now we already have 8 on this 1, on the A's, sorry. That's 8, 1, 0, 0, 0. If we turn this on to be 1, it'll be 8 plus 8. So what does everyone think is going to happen when we do 8 plus 8?
Overflow.
It will overflow. The overflow lights up to let us know, hey, I can't do that calculation. An error, basically. That's what we do at the last carry when we add these multiple stages together. We just take that and we say that is the overflow bit. Let's see what else I have in the slides.
So if we use all the kits in the room, can we even calculate a nibble?
So, no, because we need 9 to do each stage, and we have 24, so we could do 3 bits. I don't, what is a nibble? Is it 4 bits?
Half a byte, yeah.
Yeah, so 4 bits, so no. That's what we just built. The third component, the last component that we didn't actually use, those chips, I should have mentioned this earlier, sorry. Those are NAND gates. Those are 4 NAND gates on a chip. I have the schematic up on that site. This is kind of just homework. You can take that home. It's time to build this NAND gate, this full adder, sorry, with the NAND gates. Like I said, there's 4 NAND gates on that chip. So one chip can do these 4. And that's a half adder. And this is another half adder. And then this is just the combination of those 2 things to give you the carry bit. You can follow this schematic right here. All you gotta do is make these connections. I say all you gotta do. The reason we didn't do this in reality is because this is the one I did. It's not that hard, but there's a lot of it. And this is another reason why I didn't want to use the jumper cables for our main work, because they just get in each other's ways. That's another picture. So these are the actual chips. These are all the jumper cables. But it does work. And that's it. Thank you all. We have a few minutes, so if there's any questions. Yeah?
You said offhandedly maybe the NAND gates are the cheapest ones to manufacture. Is there a reason for that? Is it just that like they are used most commonly? And
No, I think the actual component count inside of them is cheaper. So we use 2 transistors here, and you can actually build like an AND gate with two transistors, but you can't build the other gates from an AND gate. So I believe an AND gate is the cheapest one of the gates that you can build the other gates from. Yeah, that makes sense. I think just because it has 2 transistors in it, the other ones made up 3. I actually don't know exactly why, but yeah. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all. Like I said, this is the site I have. If you were interested in this stuff at all, please go there. I have a bunch of really interesting material on there, including a bunch of YouTube videos that were really good at explaining this stuff. There's a lot more stuff that I would have put in there if we had more time. But thank you.
Thank you.
What?
No, you can keep going. Yeah.